All right, so welcome everyone. Good to have you here. So today we have another question, this time from friend Jarko. So Jarko writes in, thanks Tobi for this great post. He's referring to the post I made about the basic meditation practice. You can find it on our blog. I'm also one of those who read and listen a lot of different teachers. Try a little bit of this and that, get inspired, get bored, try another approach, etc. In the end, I learn a lot, and the learning is rich in theory but shallow in practice. Somehow all the accumulating knowledge with the limited practice does evolve and lead to some level of insight, even peace of mind occasionally, but it is very vague and easily disturbed. What you say in this blog post about sticking to one practice and giving it focus and time is very insightful. However, I find it very, very challenging. I believe I'm struggling with priorities. I am an entrepreneur with 2 growing companies. I have 2 school-aged children and life is very full. Work and children are my passion, but so is finding the truth and a more stable peace of mind. Combining them seems impossible. I try to meditate 1 to 2 times a day, but when I sit down, I feel a rush of other priorities coming into my mind. This needs to be done now. This should have been done yesterday. I cannot use time for meditation when so many things are undone. I will not be able to have any concentration anyway, so I better just forget meditation and get some work done. I look at these thoughts for a while appearing in my awareness, but I cannot really get distance to them. I'm somehow just faintly aware of them. Then I get sucked in and I give it up. And I know that I will not develop deep insight like this. Then I think, okay, tomorrow I will try harder. So stay with whatever is. I will sit still whether I have any concentration or not. And next day it does not get any better. Any ideas or tips on this? So Jarko says it quite nicely here. I believe I'm struggling with priorities, and that is the case for many people who practice meditation, particularly in the beginning. We're struggling with priorities. We're struggling with priorities because we don't really have fully experienced meditation yet. We don't have experienced the various benefits of it yet. So it's kind of, you have to have some faith. Having faith comes from, for example, having read some good books, some inspiring books, or listening to teachers, or spending time with people who meditate a lot. It encourages us much more. So these kind of things are very important. If you're all on your own, you're not having anyone around you that practices meditation like you do, you have no books to read, you have no teacher to guide you and help you, it's going to be very, very difficult. And even though you might be very motivated, like let's say you're just coming from a retreat or you come from some very deep, insightful experience and you come back home all fired up, you want to start your practice, you want to really go ahead, but it's very difficult because there is no supporting factors. The path of meditation needs a lot of supporting factors. For a plant to grow, it's not just enough to have some sunshine. Yes, if that would be enough, then you put a seed in the sunshine and that's it, and the plant will grow. It also needs water, it needs care, it needs good soil, good fertile soil, not just any soil. It needs somebody to water it regularly. So this attention that a plant gets from many facets of nature, and if it's your room plant, then it gets a lot of attention from you. This is very important for its growth, and all these factors, they play a vital role for the growth of a plant. For spiritual practice to grow, similarly, we also need water, we need sunlight, we need wind for stability, we need all these factors on the path as well. So what are those factors if you translate them? So the first thing, the base of it all, is a fertile soil. The fertile soil for meditation practice, a good ground, a good foundation, is, for example, a spiritual community, having people who are just like yourself, aiming for the same goal. are practicing together this technique. They're discussing with one another. They have friends around themselves who are interested in the same thing, in spiritual practice. That is, for example, a very good base condition for growth of spiritual practice. Another one, of course, is good studying well, reading books that concern your technique, your method. Here it is important to select the right books. If you are practicing a specific method, then we should read the books and study the books which are all about this method. If we're jumping around a lot, it's going to be very difficult. Too much information coming into the mind, it will create some overload. It needs, in that realm, some focus. So here in the groundwork, we need the focus of the groundwork. Spending time with people who practice the same technique, reading books that lead to abilities and inspiration concerning the same technique. Visiting your teacher, and this is one of the most important facets of practice, to have a spiritual guide, someone that helps you, that is ready for you, to whom you can relate, a real life person, not someone that you imagine or not someone that you visit in your dreams or something like that, but a real life human being that has experience on the path and practices the technique him or herself. So all of that is basic conditions we need. Further, also you need water for a plant to grow. So you need to have kindness and understanding for yourself and give yourself a break. Don't try to be perfect right away. It doesn't work. You need the water of kindness and compassion. So having this water of kindness and compassion, you know that these things take time and you give yourself that time. You don't try to get the things that you're looking for right away. That would be when you say, I believe I'm struggling with priorities. That struggle is overcome by kindness and compassion. So you're not giving yourself a hard time struggling over priorities. Instead, you just keep going, slowly, bit by bit, nourishing the soil, nourishing the seed more and more. It's day by day. For some of us it takes a lot of time, and it's perfectly fine. Give yourself that time. Don't try to get it right away. Then also you need light, like a plant has sunlight. Also for your spiritual practice you need the sunlight of blessings of somebody and people around you who have attained the fruit of the practice. This is a very powerful blessing we receive. The blessing of an authentic lineage. That is also very important. Not just doing something that, like your neighbor just came up with yesterday. But it is something that has been working for thousands of years, for millions of people, has been showing results on a spiritual path, any given spiritual path. So that is important too. It's very, very important to carry the blessings of lineage, the blessings of the teacher, the blessings of your spiritual friends, the blessings of your enemies, people who don't like you, who give you a hard time and struggle. This can be seen as a blessing too. Anyone who gives you a hard time, anyone who makes you feel unhappy, these people are pointing out where you are tense, where you are resisting truth, where you are at war with the way things are. And each time this is pointed out, also it's a sort of blessing when you're on a spiritual path. It's an opportunity, an invitation to let go and relax. So we become less tense, less serious, a bit more light-hearted, a bit more open. So then, of course, you also need wind. If you have wind, it creates a stability of a plant. If a plant grows without any wind, it's very weak. It doesn't have much stability. But outdoor plants that are growing in nature are very strong because they need to withstand all the wind and all the rain and all the weather. So having this strength is also very important. And as strength grows, by doing it with energy and persistency and determination, keep doing the practice, no matter what. Don't think about doing it, do it. Because if you start thinking about doing it, it becomes very complicated, unnecessarily complicated. For practice, it's all about doing it. Think of it like going into a swimming pool. You can stand in front of the pool and discuss philosophically about entering the pool or not. And you can do that for hours. You can read all books about swimming that there are in this world. You can be very knowledgeable about swimming, yet you're never touching the water. So here in meditation is the same thing, right? Need to touch the water, need to have the strength of determination and practice and commitment to the practice. And if all these facets are coming together well, a spiritual practice is well-rounded. It will give you exactly the results that you're reading about in all these books. And then you experience them. Right? So spiritual practice, what we read in the books, what we hear from teachers, is always an invitation to experience these things for yourself, directly. And these are experiences that withstand testing as well. You can test yourself as well. The testing ground for spiritual practice is suffering. The question you can ask yourself is simple. Do I suffer? If yes, you need to do some more practice. If the answer is yes, I suffer. Here I'm talking about unnecessary suffering. What do you think? What is unnecessary suffering? Can you give me any example, anyone, of unnecessary suffering? And suffering that we cannot escape, like these two. Any idea? Anyone? What could be unnecessary suffering? Tell me, what's unnecessary suffering?
Well, a voice in your head that's constantly arguing with itself.
Yes, a voice in your head that is constantly arguing with itself. Great. That's unnecessary suffering. If you're on your way to work and you're contemplating whether you're going to make it or not, it's unnecessary. It'll show itself, right? Now, unnecessary suffering that is part of life is a cough. If you need to cough, for example, like I think you, right? You had to cough before. To God, this is something that just happens in life. Cough happens. You have to sneeze sometimes. It's just normal part of life. We get older, we get ill, we have accidents. Our body is painful, need to change the posture all the time. That is just something we cannot avoid. Even the Buddha had that suffering. The Buddha died of food poisoning. He had a chronic back pain. He was stepping into sharp objects, cutting open his foot. These things are part of a human life, unavoidable. But to make a big fuss out of them, an additional mental drama around them, that is unnecessary. Like having someone steal your wallet is unavoidable. It just happens in life, these things, right? But then really feeling fearful and having all the internal drama on top of it, that is unnecessary. It's just that we don't know what to do with our minds because we never really learn it. So we kind of have to make an additional drama in most cases. So that's why we learn meditation. We learn meditation to understand how the mind works. Here in Yarko's example, the unnecessary struggle, the unnecessary drama comes from thinking about his situation. I believe I'm struggling with priorities. I'm an entrepreneur with 2 growing companies. I have 2 school-age children and life is very full. If these thoughts were not there, or let's say it in a more simple way, if we wouldn't give such thoughts so much weight and so much credibility, they wouldn't be able to intrude and disturb us just so much. Instead, we would become mindful right there. There are thoughts. These thoughts are not the truth. They are just thoughts. And to realize that over and over again is very liberating. It's a great help on the path. And you can do that anytime, anywhere. Realizing that your thoughts are, surprise, surprise, thoughts. They're just thoughts. Thoughts are thoughts. It's that simple. They're not truth. But however, it is truth that thoughts are there. Not trying to have thoughts there, you're fighting with truth because thoughts are there. So if you're fighting your thoughts, you're going to end up suffering a lot. And this is unnecessary suffering. You don't have to fight with your thoughts. It's like the cowboy that shoots the clouds because he doesn't like clouds. So he's standing down there at this farm and shooting into the clouds, cursing the clouds. The clouds don't care. The bullets never reach them. And even if they did, they would pass right through. And so your thoughts, they don't care about all your resistance. They just come and go. That's what they do. And they come and go because of certain causes. Thoughts, every thought has its cause. It's things that we learn when we grow up, etc. So here that this story that is going on in Nyarko's head, I'm an entrepreneur with 2 growing companies, I have 2 school-age children, etc., etc. Work and children are my passion, but so is finding the truth and a more stable peace of mind. Combining them seems impossible. And here is a very dramatic end of the story. Combining them seems impossible. Now I wonder what tries to combine them. Might that be the one who is stressed? Ask yourself, why try to combine it? Why not just be present? Why try to combine anything? Why try to juggle your thoughts? Why try to juggle this story and balance it out with the other story? Like I'm a father, I'm an entrepreneur, and I also like meditation, and I like truth, and how do I get them together? You don't have to get them together. The mind is very cunning. It can catch you very easily. The Buddha actually calls these things bait. Now the mind literally tries to catch you with bait, and this is awesome bait. It can catch you right away if you're not mindful, right? Look, I'm an entrepreneur. I have growing companies, and I'm also trying to find truth. How do I combine it? Bam, there it is, the perfect bait. And you can spend hours, afternoons, your bus rides to work, standing in front of a traffic light, discussing with your friends, chasing this bait, or being chased by the bait. So here's the real problem. Get into the habit of realizing that your thoughts are just thoughts. And getting into that habit doesn't take all that long. It needs a lot of intent. Every morning you get up. Every lunchtime, check in. How is it going? Have I detected some of the baiting thoughts? You can also write down 10 of your most predominant baits. Things that always come up in your mind, like, oh, I can never do it. Oh, this is so difficult. Can these things catch you? Do you believe in these? Do they give you a hard time? I can't meditate because outside it's just so noisy. That is bait right there, and it can catch you if you fall for it. So we need to train ourselves to become aware of this bait. Each time you have these kind of particular thought patterns that Nyarko is writing about, we all have our own, of course. Notice them for what they are. They are literally just thoughts. He says, I look at these thoughts for a while, appearing in my awareness, but I cannot really get distance to them. I'm somehow just faintly aware of them. That's a more subtle bait. I cannot get distance from them. You see that? It's another thought, and it comes in through the back door. It suggests you need to find distance from your thoughts. And we're believing in that one then. So you need to be very vigilant, very aware. You sit down and you do your meditation, training yourself. Okay, I just let everything happen. Whatever happens, I just allow it. I just pay attention to it. And so eventually, that what you are looking for, this distance, appears all by itself if you're giving yourself a break, if you leave yourself alone, take your hands off, not trying to achieve anything. Spend more time with stage 1 and stage 2 of the meditative process, the one we practice today. Simply open up to the way it is, not trying to, not struggling to. Simply being here, open and aware. No agenda there. You're approaching yourself with an agenda. You notice that, right? That's why it's stressful. You look at yourself and you have demands. A person that has demands for themselves or to themselves, they will be very demanding towards other people also. A person has high demands for themselves. They walk around in a state of having high demands. So wherever they are, people will feel uncomfortable because of the high demands. We're not giving ourselves a break, trying to be perfect all the time. We're not giving other people a break, trying to have them perfect all the time. But life is not like that. Life is not flawless. It's quite a messy thing. In meditation, we learn to accept that. Well, it's like this. The emotions are a messy thing. The mind is a messy thing. It jumps around. It creates a whole lot of ideas and a whole lot of bait. And gradually, we learn not to bite. And that requires a very simple mindfulness training. No agenda, just wake up and keep waking up more and more. Give yourself little reminders to wake up. Read books, study, keep going. At some point there will be a natural shift of priorities. And the inner work becomes more important than anything else. Because it is your personality, your kindness, your compassion that you are carrying out into this world. You are the gift to this world. It is your understanding, your openness, your kindness that yourself and others are benefiting from. Going around in this world waiting for people to become perfect, to say exactly the right things, to be exactly the right way. And you will wait until you die. It will not happen. Waiting that all wars come to an end, waiting that the politicians are finally doing the right thing, waiting that the meditation finally takes off. It doesn't work that way. So in this kind of attitude, in this kind of spirit, we have to create the right conditions for the path. If they are there and if they are well cultivated, meditation will grow by itself. Priorities will shift magically by themselves. It just only takes the right conditions. So that's our job, in short, to create the right conditions for peace to arise, for awareness to flourish, for kindness to grow. So are there any questions? All right then. Have a good day, have a good week. Next class is